Congressional Republicans are holding your financial future hostage as the nation inches closer to the June 1st deadline when the United States could default on its debts and face economic calamity. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is still insisting on spending cuts being attached to any bill that increases the debt limit. Now, further talks between McCarthy and President Biden and other congressional leadership members were postponed on Friday, but three sources familiar tell NBC News that their next meeting is tentatively set for Tuesday, the day before President Biden leaves for the G7 summit. Yesterday, the president shared this update on negotiations.
So I think they're moving along. It's hard to tell. We've not reached the crunch point yet. So, but there's real discussion about some changes, but we're not there yet.
Now, make no mistake about it, if the United States defaults on its debts for the first time in history, it could wipe out millions of jobs and trillions in household wealth. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen recently warned that it could also interrupt Social Security payments that Americans across the country rely on to get by. With the nation edging closer to the brink each day, will congressional Republicans agree to pass a clean debt limit increase as they did 3 times during the Trump administration? Will the White House give in to some of their demands, or will the gridlock in Washington send our economy spiraling into what is very clearly uncharted territory? Well, joining me now to answer some questions is Heather Boushey, a member of President Biden's Council of Economic Advisors. Heather, good to see you again. So President Biden has said he will not negotiate on the debt ceiling, but he has recently made a number of comments about spending cuts that are leading people to believe that the president has changed his tune. So is the president now negotiating with Speaker McCarthy on the debt ceiling?
Well, so certainly there are ongoing conversations. He met with Speaker McCarthy and other congressional leaders last week, but the president has been clear that he is prepared to begin a separate discussion about budget and spending priorities, but not under the threat of default. I mean, here's the thing. This question about the debt ceiling is about money that Congress has already appropriated and the government has already spent, and whether or not we can borrow to pay back our bills. And the president wants to keep that separate from future spending. You know, the president put out his budget back in March, which would cut the deficit by $3 trillion over the next decade. He's willing to have those tough conversations, but not under the threat of default. As he says repeatedly, the United States cannot and should not and will not be a deadbeat nation. Congress needs to do its duty and increase the debt ceiling.
So President Biden will not support legislation that is not a clean debt limit increase.
He has been clear that these should be separate discussions, and he has also started the conversation. Staff are meeting, and he has been meeting with leaders to move this conversation forward because of the urgency of how close we are to the moment when the U.S. Treasury may not be able to pay the bills that are due.
So, Heather, NBC News is reporting that the next meeting is set for this Tuesday between the president and congressional leaders. Do you expect a final decision to come from that meeting?
Well, we certainly need a decision to come soon. You know, Secretary Yellen has said that the debt limit could be reached as early as June 1st. This is a difficult date to calibrate exactly what date it's going to happen, because we never know exactly how much revenue is going to come in or exactly, what that balance will be. But it is certainly coming up quickly. And so there is urgency to getting this sorted. But of course, this is something that Congress has done time and time again. Since 1960, Congress has increased the debt ceiling 78 times. They did 3 clean debt ceiling increases during the prior administration, and that is what the president has been asking them to do again.
So in the event, Heather, let me just spitball it here with you, because, I know how it works at the White House. You got to have a contingency plan. So is the president still considering the 14th Amendment to treat the debt ceiling as unconstitutional? Is that on the table?
Well, the president has been very clear that Congress needs to do its job to prevent default. That is the number one priority here, and that is what the president has made clear time and time again. And as he has said, invoking the 14th Amendment would not solve our problems right now. That still would lead so many of these uncertainties that could upend our economy. And so we really do need Congress to do its job. I don't think that we can stress enough just how dangerous it could be to the U.S. economy to go past this debt ceiling date. We've never done it before in the U.S. history, and economists have a lot of projections on just how dire it could be based on how close we got back in 2011. But it could lead to sharp increases in interest rates, sharp increases in borrowing costs for consumers all across the country. It would lead to a sharp slowdown in government spending, which would pull money out of the economy.
Payments. I'm
Social
sorry to
security
interrupt you,
payments.
but Social Security payments. Like, there are a number of things on the chopping block here. So, Heather, in the time that I have left for you, look, we have conversations here on MSNBC about this particular issue. I have long since said that it does look like that the president is going to negotiate on the budget and not on the debt ceiling. But Speaker McCarthy has not presented a budget. So is it not dangerous to negotiate with Speaker McCarthy with no budget on the table from him? It seems as though you all are doing it piecemeal and essentially negotiating with folks who have tried to take the U.S. economy hostage. And I'm talking about House Republicans.
Well, this has certainly been a challenge. The president put out his budget back in March. He has been clear that he has put out forth a budget that would be fiscally responsible on top of already reducing the deficit by $1.7 trillion under his watch. His budget looking forward would lower the deficit by $3 trillion over the next decade. And it would cut, $200 billion in spending by strengthening Medicare's power to negotiate for lower prescription drugs, amongst a number of other things. What Speaker McCarthy has put forward are a series of things that they want in exchange for the debt ceiling, but he's not put forward a complete budget at this point. He's not said how he's going to pay for all of this. So this is a challenging situation.
Heather Boushey, member of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, thank you very much.
Thank you.